Good morning, Your Excellencies. Excellencies, Filipinos are very spiritual people, and regardless of our religion, we all believe that whatever we sow, we will reap. And we're here today to thank you for your friendship, for your support, for your investments, and your encouragement of our government. Many, if not all of you, have helped us and noted the growth of the Philippine economy, our efforts to make it more inclusive, our President's determination to improve social services and to take a lot of people out of poverty or the poverty alleviation programs, and of course, the main goal of upholding the dignity of each and every human being. Let me speak today of the misunderstanding of our campaign against drugs, crime, and corruption. Since Undersecretary Catura has given you a comprehensive viewpoint of our view on human rights and how important it is to the Philippines and to the community of nations, allow me to just focus on this one aspect of reforms or change that President Duterte is doing that is getting bad international media. First, if only there was a less political, more unbiased, and a fair way of describing what was really happening in the Philippines, we would be having a more constructive discussion rather than groups throwing alternative facts and fake news. It's unfortunate and it's sad that this fake news based on alternative facts was gobbled up by the political foes of President Duterte locally, gobbled up by some of the local media, which created a domino effect of the foreign media picking up from news reports in the Philippines, which also, rightly so, alerted human rights groups. Unfortunately, they were getting the wrong information. If only the campaign was presented based on facts. What is fact number one? The drug lords were operating with impunity. It wasn't the Philippine government that was acting with impunity. The Philippine government, past administrations to this administration, tried to strengthen the rule of law. The problem is we were slowly turning into a narco state wherein the drug pushers were not only helping politicians, judges, policemen, they were already infiltrating the political system by they themselves winning from barangay captain to top positions below the presidency. So what are the facts when it comes to the numbers? The foreign media, again based on reports from the local media, have forgotten to report that in the last 6.5 years, we had an average of 11,000 to 14,000 extrajudicial killings in the Philippines under the present definition that they are using now. The present definition that they're using now in President Duterte's administration is that any death that is not of natural cause and is not an order of the court, and we do not have the death penalty now, is an extrajudicial killing. And we averaged we went from 11,000 to a low of 11,000 to a high of 16,000 homicide murders a year. So that's the starting point. So when Duterte came in, what happened? First, they changed the definition. In the past administration with EO 35, it is only if the killings happen to people with ideological or if they were cause-oriented. No, they were labor leaders, religious leaders. If they were killed in accordance with their advocacy, it would be considered extrajudicial killings. But those who are killed by fellow gangmates or because of drugs, because of love triangles or any other cause, robbery, homicide, would not be considered extrajudicial killings. Suddenly, during the Duterte administration, all killings were extrajudicial killings. During the Duterte administration's short stint, 10 months, 1,266,000 have surrendered 88,000 of them claiming to be pushers or they sell drugs, and 1,177,000 claiming to be users. During the Duterte administration, there were 53,503 operations, police operations, just in the last 10 months. But in the last 6 years and 6 months, or the end of the Arroyo administration and the whole Aquino administration, there was a total of 1,907 police operations. So meaning, the drug lords and the criminals cannot now act with impunity because our police, our prosecutors, our judges, our PDEA, the Philippine Drug Enforcement Agency, the National Bureau of Investigation, are now working hard together to go after the drug lords. Are there many more killings? Yes, in the sense that because there are more operations, there are more people killed during legitimate police operations. But as pointed out by our ASIC Dancing of the DILG, if you look at the percentage, in the Philippines in the past, for every 100 operations, about 5 people fought back and were killed. And if you look at the present statistics, it's still the same. But there are more because there are more operations. So that brings us to the last number that I want to show you. The deaths resulting from presumed legitimate police operations is 2,692. The total homicide cases are 9,432, well within the average of the past 6 years. It's still too much. Any killing is too much. We want, the president wants people to be able to walk at 5 in the morning, 3 in the morning, wants to let our mothers, our daughters, our wives be able to take public transportation, to go home late at night, feeling safe, without any harassment. No? This is basically the objective of the president. But the numbers were presented in a way that basically made it appear that he was acting with impunity. So let me close with just 3 quick videos, one 2 minutes, one 1 minute, and one 30 second. I want you to hear, Your Excellencies, with your permission, the President's word itself. Because this video of the State of the Nation address is not shown in the international media. What they show in the international media is statements that he is addressing to the drug pushers, because that's the language they understand. No? So anyway, the video speaks for itself, so may I please, with your permission, just very short.
During my inauguration last 2016, I said that the fight against criminality and illegal drugs and corruption will be relentless and sustained. I reiterate that commitment today, and that is why I call on the Philippine National Police, the barangay chairman, the mayors, and governors, and all those occupying seats of power and authority not to lower their guard. There will be no let up in this campaign. Double your efforts, triple them if need be. We will not stop until the last drug lord, the last financier, and the last pusher have surrendered or put behind bars. Or below the ground, if they so wish. To our police officers and other officials, do your job, and you will have the unwavering support of the Office of the President. I will be with you all the way. Abuse your authorities, and there will be a hell to pay. To for you will have become worse than criminality itself. I order the National Police Commission to hasten the conduct of investigation and adjudication of administrative cases against police officers involved in criminal activity and illegal activity.
Your Excellencies, you can see from the video that clearly, number one, the President said, put them in jail, surrender, or if they so wish, under the ground. Meaning if they fight back, or if they threaten the lives of our police enforcers. Unfortunately, in the international media, only under the ground comes out. Secondly, there is a massive disinformation campaign stating that the police can do anything and their abuses or they can violate the law and there will be no penalty. The President's statement was very clear. If you abuse, you will be worse than criminality itself. And he has put very strict guidelines in investigating law enforcers. May I show you the next video? For those who are criticizing that the drug effort is simply to go after the distribution networks, it is not so. We're treating the users as victims. We are okay, the last one. Okay. Sorry, there's a problem with the second video, but in the same State of the Nation address, the President clearly stated a massive effort for rehabilitation centers, and has sought the help of everyone, from our local tycoons, from taxes, and even from different countries to help build drug rehabilitation centers in the Philippines. The last video I'd just like to show you to just emphasize that the President does not tolerate state-sponsored extrajudicial killings. And I want the human rights advocates to hear it from the mouth itself of the President, just to clarify the issue.
The rapporteur of the Human Rights Commission, and she said she wants to talk to me one-on-one. We go public, you make the accusations. I'd like to know where you get the garbage. Because give me a policeman or a soldier here in front of me and ask him kung sino tao, who was the one or who I ordered to be killed. Extrajudicial, we do not do that.
Your Excellencies, let me please close with just a description of the drug that is causing the problem in the Philippines. We call it shabu or crystal meth. Scientifically, it is known as methamphetamine hydrochloride. So some of the Western countries have discussions with us on how the same number of users abroad and in the Philippines, but how come we're claiming that it's much worse in the Philippines? Because when you use marijuana, cocaine, morphine, the violence associated usually is with the distributors, the gang wars or those supplying the drugs. But you wouldn't hear of people using marijuana raping their sister. You wouldn't hear those using cocaine shooting their father or their brother. You wouldn't hear of rape of a 2-year-old, 3-year-old. You wouldn't hear of a robbery that's already going well, meaning they got the money and car, but they'll go back just to shoot the person. Why? Because these kinds of drugs do not have the kind of paranoia and cognitive disturbance to the mental state of health that crystal meth has. And it is the World Health Organization itself who stated the ill effects of shabu or crystal meth. So it is a problem of human security. It is a problem of keeping Philippines, and you as you visit the Philippines safe. And the President is dedicated, to fight terrorism, to fight crime, to fight corruption, with your understanding. As Yusek Atura said, this is a work in progress. There are human rights violations, but they are not state-sponsored. There are extrajudicial killings, but it is not state-sponsored, and we are trying our best to address it. The efficiency of our investigation is going up. Our police are being held more accountable. In fact, right now, any death resulting from a police operation is automatically investigated by the Internal Affairs Service of the PNP. And the PNP has opened up its doors to the CHR and the Commission on Human Rights. And despite the fact that the Commission of Human Rights has sometimes helped in spreading false facts, alternative facts, the President, from a little bit over 400 million, gave them a 700 million budget this year. So despite the fact that they are major critics of his administration, the President values human rights and gave them more money to monitor the, so they had a 65% increase in their budget so that they can monitor the human rights situation in the country. Again, Your Excellencies, our gratitude and thank you for spending time with us this morning. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Senefield. Next speaker, please.